Okay, so on Tuesday, remember we only did adding, subtracting, and multiplying. We didn't do dividing. So we have to know how to use the inverse to be able to divide. Okay. And that's in solving equations and stuff like that we'll be doing at the end here. Equations with matrices. Yeah, sure. Okay. So we talked about this a little bit on Tuesday about the identity matrix. Remember, it's got that diagonal set of ones with the zeros. Okay. This is also going to help us determine if certain matrices are inverses of each other. This is how we found our solutions when we were doing the solving systems of equations. But it could be a 4x4, 5x5, so on. We need those diagonal ones to be the same as our dimensions there for it to be a square matrix. All right. So go ahead and write this one down. We need to determine if two matrices are inverses of each other. So once you write the problem down, go ahead in your calculator after that, type the first one in as your matrix A and the second one in as your matrix B.
Do you have to put in the second one to even figure that out if you have it like in front of you?
Do what?
Do you have to put the second one in your calculator?
No, but we're going to prove that they are inverses of each other. We can find the inverse by doing the inverse of A,
Yeah.
and if we get B, then we're good. But we're going to show a different way too.
Okay. I think I remember this from earlier too.
Yeah. That's good.
I thought there would be like a process, but no, it's just, that's all that is to it.
Oh, with the little negative one?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right, so in your calculator, if you typed in matrix A and matrix B, go ahead and do matrix A times matrix B. And then matrix B times matrix A. Okay, what did you say?
They're both identities, like the diagonal one.
They're both the identity matrix. So in that case, these are both inverses of each other. Okay. The fact that A times B and B times A, you end up with the identity matrix, then they're inverses of each other. What we were discussing earlier, also, if you typed in your calculator the matrix of A, and then the same button we keep pressing second matrix with is that little -1. So you can also do the matrix A and do the inverse of that. And then if you get matrix B, that's another way to show that. It's the same button we've been pressing, just not the second. Okay. We talked about that. All right, go ahead and try this one. All right. Did you run into an error?
Yeah.
Yeah. So not every square matrix, meaning 3 by 3, 4 by 4, so on, is going to have an inverse. All right. So you can either put no inverse. I've seen some people actually type in the singular matrix or whatever that your calculator actually says to you. That's fine. I'll accept either one of those. Do not leave it blank and do not put 0. Okay. So the good news is your calculator tells you that. Just like certain equations, the inverse is not a function and stuff like that. There's a possibility that we do not have an inverse. Okay. All right, try these two. So the only thing I will be picky about with your solutions on your quiz is I don't want you to put decimals as your answers. Okay. Do not put decimals as your answers. And I'll show you how to change it. All right, so if those of you who are not familiar with it, in your calculator, after we do second matrix A, whoops, I need to get out of that. And we do the inverse, bless you. So we get decimals here. A couple different ways you can approach this. One, you can go ahead and do math frac, and it changes it to a fraction for you. Okay, that's one approach. Another approach is if you have your calculator mode just set to fractions, which mine is. I just didn't do it. Interesting.
I thought the answer was supposed to be like auto, frac, and decimal on the side.
Which one is it?
I thought it wasn't in the answers, but I could.
Yeah, it's on auto.
Yeah, my answers have auto, decimal, and fraction. Like you see how
I wonder, do I go down and change that down here?
your answers only have auto and decimal. But mine I have auto, decimal, and fraction.
Oh, weird. Interesting. Again, notice how you're plugging a lot into the calculator, and not a whole lot of work is being shown. So on a quiz, test, or anything of that nature, whatever time you have left, make sure you're using that time wisely to plug this in again, fresh, like you've never seen it before. So then that way you can double check if you get the same answer twice. I just don't want y'all to forget a negative or type something in incorrectly, you look at one line and then you look at another line. And it's hard, even for me, like when I have students that are like, how did I get this wrong? And I come look at your calculator and I come look at the board and I still can't figure out what you did wrong. It's easy just to start it fresh, okay? But then that way, hopefully you won't make any little mistakes there. Yes?
So when we're typing it into our calculator, can we type it in with decimals or whatever?
Oh yeah, you can. This is a preference for me up here. You know, well, you wouldn't have one like this with a calculator on. Let's say on the ACT, because that's what I'm preparing you mostly for with this. You would know multiple choice. They gave you decimals. They gave you fractions. I just want you to be able to do both. Okay. Is the ACT still basically geometry?
Yes.
Okay.
Geometry.
My nephew was telling me, like in Alabama, is it a different ACT or is it across the board?
I mean, it's a different test every year, but
He said his was more algebra 1 than geometry.
I hope so. I never finished geometry.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I will make sure that when we go over the unit circle and stuff like that, and like a lot of the things I think you were supposed to have seen in geometry, I'll teach it like you've never seen it before. Because you haven't. Okay, so this is why we need the inverse. All right, if we have matrix A, this is supposed to be a capital X. It's a matrix. Matrix A times matrix X equals another matrix, okay? We can't just say to get X by itself, we're just going to divide by A. You can't divide two fractions that way. So you have to do the inverse of A times your matrix B in that order, all right? So once you have that written down at the bottom, go ahead and type in matrix A and matrix B into your calculator. Again. Gotcha, okay.
That's the only thing that's going.
It's just that little small formula.
Yeah.
That's not bad. That won't hurt you. Bless you. All right, so if we do the matrix A, find the inverse of that and do matrix B, we should be able to find our solution of our matrix X of being 2, -1, -2, okay? And again, on a test or a quiz or anything like that, nothing is stopping you from plugging this back in and testing it, okay? So for example, if I keep my matrix A, my matrix B, but maybe put my answer as matrix C, then I can do A times C, and if I get B, I'm good, okay? I'm just trying to help you with a quiz that can make the silliest mistakes, make you not make 100 on it, you know? Just trying to make sure that y'all have ways to check your answers. Okay. All right. Any questions so far? All right. Try this one. All right, what'd y'all get as your matrix X?
1, 7, -9.
Okay. Any questions on solving the equations, aka our new version of dividing with an inverse? All right. So now we got the determinant. All right. There are going to be a couple of different ways you could see this written. It could be something like these two ways. I could actually have just a matrix with straight lines. And no directions other than it could say solve. It could just have those straight lines, which is not far off from a matrix where it has the brackets, okay? So you have to look out for, does it have brackets or does it have the straight lines? The straight lines mean find the determinant of a matrix, okay? You're always going to end up with a scalar. Remember, a scalar is just a number. If you wanted to do it by hand, of course, this is your formula down here. You multiply those diagonals together and subtract them. The good news, it's in your calculator. Trust me, y'all have other things to worry about than matrices on both the ACT and your state test.
How many go past the challenge exam a year?
I'm sorry?
How many go past the challenge exam?
I wouldn't say like a ton do. It's definitely doable. I don't know.
It's doable for you. Yeah, she could pass it.
I think it's doable for everyone. Because it's basically all it is a college exam. I think it's a good experience for a lot of y'all seeing what it's like now before it really comes after you. Because some math classes only take a midterm and a final as your grade in college. But I don't remember how many because I left last year. Had a baby. So I don't remember how many passed. Do I?
So that'll do it to you.
That's it to you. Have one of those little guys.
Gross.
All right. But this year is going to be the most I've ever had. Just you wait.
Yay.
Y'all are going to come through. You will. I have faith. All right, go ahead and type this in as matrix A.
Did you say it was A equals AD minus BC? Is that what it said?
You got it? But they've also changed the test, so I don't know what this year will look like. But it cracks me up though, because they say they give y'all a practice test, but the practice test doesn't have anything to do with the final.
So what's the point of it?
So what are we practicing for, really, is the question. They said just the format of the test, and I'm like, what?
So do we want the absolute value, whatever number we get? Is that what the bars are for? Or is that just?
No, it's the determinant, but that's their symbol for it is the straight lines. It looks like the absolute value, but. All right, so after you have matrix A plugged in, go back into matrix and go to math and notice how option 1 is DET. So second matrix, go over to math. DET is your first option. So do DET and plug in your matrix A, and you should get a scalar.
What is the determinant mean again?
Do I?
What does the determinant mean? Like, what is the number?
Sorry, it was at the bottom. It helps with the area of a triangle.
I knew it was like something. Yeah. Something.
It does something.
Narrow that down.
All the things.
I missed today.
So this is what I was saying here with the fact that there could be no instructions besides solve. But that's saying solve for the determinant because of the straight lines. Okay, so if you're not paying attention, you could be like, oh, solve as in you want me to do double ref, or solve as in you want me to add, or I don't know. Y'all create your own math when it comes to things like this where you don't know what to do. But that is their way of saying solve for the determinant without saying that. Okay, those straight lines is exactly what that means. All right. So we can just do the first one. We don't have to do all 4. I won't waste y'all's time. It's just more of a muscle memory, getting y'all used to plugging these in the calculator, remembering where everything is located.
What was the double, like R correct thing again?
That was your row reduced echelon form, and that's when you solve for X, Y, and Z. Systems of equations. Okay. I used to do like races with these, see who could plug them in the calculator fastest.
We should do it.
It's the small things.
I remember those like 100 question like times table quizzes.
Those were the
Yeah,
best.
those are my favorite
Those
things.
were the best.
It's when I was my most competitive.
The first person to flip over the page is just like,
It's when I was the best.
Oh, it's like so aggressive too.
Except my teacher would take it with us. You know,
that's just cheap.
I don't know though. I
she would use
mean,
candy to cover once. She always ate candy.
All right. That's all she wrote.
Do I